The year is 1876. Imagine a world without telephones. Communication relied on written letters or face-to-face conversations. Distances were truly barriers. Then came Alexander Graham Bell. He invented the telephone, a device that transmitted sound over electrical wires. This was revolutionary. Bell's invention set the stage for a communication revolution. Bell's first telephones were rudimentary. They could only transmit sound over short distances. But the potential was clear. People could now speak to each other instantly, even when miles apart. The impact on society was immediate. Businesses could communicate more efficiently. Families separated by distance could stay connected. The telephone was changing the world. Early telephones were limited by technology. Direct calls between users were not yet possible. Instead, dedicated operators manually connected calls. These operators worked at switchboards, large panels with jacks and cords. They would connect callers by physically plugging wires into the correct sockets. The role of the operator was crucial in the early days of the telephone. They were the human link in the communication chain. Operators memorized complex routing information. They connected calls quickly and efficiently, ensuring that messages got through. However, this manual system had limitations. As telephone usage grew, the demand for operators soared. The system was becoming overwhelmed. A more automated solution was needed. The 1920s saw the arrival of the rotary dial telephone. This innovation was a major step towards automating the telephone system. The rotary dial replaced the need for operators to manually connect each call. Users could now dial numbers directly by rotating a circular dial. Each number on the dial corresponded to a series of pulses. These pulses were sent through the telephone line when the dial was released. Electromechanical switches at the telephone exchange interpreted these pulses. This directed the call to the desired recipient. The rotary dial system was a remarkable feat of engineering. It greatly improved the speed and efficiency of telephone calls. The rotary dial telephone dominated for decades. However, technology continued to advance. In the 1960s, a new system emerged: push-button phones. These phones replaced the rotary dial with a keypad of buttons. Each button represented a number. Push-button phones were easier and faster to use than rotary phones. Pressing a button generated a specific tone. These tones, rather than pulses, were transmitted to the telephone exchange. This tone-based system, known as dual-tone multi-frequency (DTMF), was more efficient. It paved the way for additional features to be added to telephones in the future. Section 5. Untethering communication, the mobile revolution begins. For over a century, telephones were tethered to walls by wires. In the 1980s, the first mobile phones were introduced. These early mobile phones were bulky and expensive. However, they freed people from the constraints of wires. The Motorola Dynatac 8000X launched in 1983. It weighed over 2 pounds and cost nearly $4,000. Despite its limitations, the Dynatac 8000X marked the beginning of the mobile revolution. People could now make and receive calls from anywhere. Section 6. The rise of the smartphone, from bricks to Blackberries. Early mobile phones were just wireless telephones. They could make calls, and that was it. In the late 90s, smartphones emerged. They combined mobile phones with personal digital assistants. Early models like BlackBerry offered email and web browsing. They had small screens and limited power. But they hinted at future potential. The convergence of phones and computing was underway. Section 7. The iPhone's impact, a paradigm shift. In 2007, Apple launched the iPhone. This was a watershed moment in the history of the telephone. The iPhone wasn't just a smartphone, it was a pocket-sized computer with an intuitive touchscreen interface. It revolutionized the way people interacted with their phones and the wider world. The iPhone popularized the app ecosystem. Millions of apps were developed, offering an unprecedented range of functionality. The iPhone transformed the telephone from a device primarily used for communication into a multifunctional tool. It put the power of the internet, multimedia, and countless applications in the palm of your hand. Section 8. Smartphones and the future. Today, smartphones are ubiquitous. They are indispensable in modern life. We use them to communicate, navigate, shop, work, and entertain. Smartphones show rapid technological advancement. They have powerful processors, high-resolution displays, and fast internet. What does the future hold for the telephone? Will we interact with holographic projections? Will our devices integrate with our minds? Only time will tell. The journey from Bell's device to today's smartphones shows human ingenuity and our desire to connect with the world.